Scott Carpenter. Welcome to the Sasquatch Awareness Project. Today is part 2 of what do they look like, and the short title is Human. So today I wanted to discuss one of the most astounding things that many people come upon when they have an encounter with a Sasquatch. And it scares them sometimes more than if the Sasquatch people look like monsters. They are large and they're hairy and they're big and they're powerful, but what really kind of creeps some people out, and many people have emailed me and I've talked to people, it's like, but they had a human face. They looked human. You know, they weren't, they didn't have horns and they didn't have this monstrous appearance as far as their facial features. They looked human. So, they're seeing this big, giant, hairy, oddly proportioned giant that has a very human looking face. And so I wanted to kind of go over that look and kind of give you some real world examples. These photographs I'm going to show you, some of these are photographs, some of these are witness sketches, and some of these are my sketches, and composite sketches taken from the still captures, and then making sketches from the actual still capture. But it demonstrates just how human these Sasquatch people can be, and I thought it very important to go over that to let people, so people will understand that. And many times at a distance, the Sasquatch are mistaken for a human, or even the young ones are. The first statement from someone who has had an encounter will be, well, it looked like a man in a heavy fur coat, or it looked like a kid wearing a coat. And so it really shocks people how human they are. So I wanted to start out here. This first photograph or picture, it's actually Sibylla Irwin. This is one of my eyewitness sketches from the 2 infants that ran up on my back porch. And as you can see with this guy, just how the human features, the nose and the face, the eyes were huge, and for me they were black and kind of scary. But given the fact that they were being side and backlit in the dark, on the back porch, but and the teeth were like chiclets. The smile was just, the teeth were just extra white. I can remember the white teeth. And just, but, there are a few features with the heavy brow, but it's just uncanny how human they look. And that was the bigger one, or this is the bigger one, I'm sorry. This is without smiling. And, the eyes are, just a little large. They were large, but, very human-like appearance. This is this one right here is from a shot, actual still capture from the Sasquatch that was in the laurel thicket, and its mouth's in the it's chewing, and its left cheek is up, and its head's back just a smidge. A little easier to see when it's smaller, actually. And you can see the nostrils, and this one was extremely human looking. It had hair on top of its head and on the sides, but no hair on the face, and it was very expressive. Like I said, on the last video I showed this chewing sequence, in the mouth moving, and the face moving, and the eyes moving, all very characteristic of a human being, and not of an animal or a bipedal ape. And this one doesn't have a domed head. It has a round head. The skin's gray, which is, of course, it's not a normal human skin tone, but the features are very human. So this creepy looking guy here, that's an actual blow up still capture. I saw this guy. I was at a campground called Lauderdale Cove, and I was walking the dog at the time. I had a pit bull, and we were walking, and I never went anywhere without my camera. Yeah, I had it on a monopod, and we were walking. We had already walked out the trail, and we were walking back to the camp. The campground is on an island, and they have walking trails all over the island. So there was, as we were walking back down the hill and getting ready to take a hard right to go around, there was it's on the lake, and there was like one of those deals where there's an overflow pond. In other words, there's like a small piece of land, and when the water goes down, it forms a pond. So that pond was there, and there was large boulders all the way around the outside of that pond. And I caught movement, or movement caught my eye, and I looked up, and I could see this Sasquatch, large, black, moving between the trees. And it paused a couple times between a couple trees, and I'm continuing to go down, towards it as I'm going, and as I got closer, it's like would run between a couple trees and pause, and I'd see it, and it was backlit because the sun was going down behind it, and then it would run again, and it would, or I don't know if run's the right word, jump, or kind of skip between trees is the best way I can describe it. And then I got pretty close. I probably got about 30 or 40 yards because I came down the hill, and once I did that, I kind of lost sight of him. It looked like he squatted down or went down, or kind of went. The last I saw him, he was going this way. And so I took my camera. I had the camera, and I started zooming in and out and just looking in the area. And finally, I finally captured the area he was in, and he was squatted down behind a boulder, and he was looking out around the boulder with the old one eye thing, which you see here. And that was back when I was trying all kinds of different things, and I had learned sign language. I was trying to communicate with him with sign language, and I signed, "Who are you?" And this big booming voice came back after I signed that with Jericho, and it was a guttural, and I can't even do it justice. It almost, like they say, it almost vibrated you. It was very forceful, Jericho. But when that happened, my dog lost its mind. I mean, she started pulling and yanking, and she's already nervous. I don't know if I think she saw it, but she probably thought it was a person. But when that voice came out, she lost it and was yanking on me and pulling on me, and I'm trying to film it. And basically, she's jerking me, and I'm trying to stay on him. I see him, but I'm not getting any closer. I mean, that scared me. I mean, I was scared. That booming, I'm not rushing it. I'm not running up on it. And she's wanting to leave, so I get about, and I posted the video before. I got, I don't know, 45 seconds to a minute of it before she kept yanking me. And then basically what she did is she yanked me. I turned and got the camera off of it, and then when I went back, it was gone. But on this one, I mean, this what's so crazy about this one is it has a receding hairline, black hair. It has a big old ear on the side of its head. I mean, a big old human ear. Given the distance, it had tree limbs and stuff. I don't know if I don't think that's part of its cheek. It looks like to me that's actually a piece of, that's a limb or something running across the top of the cheek. But, it does have a large space between the bottom of the nose and the top of the mouth. And, and it's got a slit eye. The iris, with the lens, I've talked about that before. Because, but other than that, I mean, it's, it is what it is. Its nose is kind of bulbous. It's got a little bulb on the end of its nose. But it was just tucked right in there beside the rock and all this brush in front of it, so you can, in the video, you can see its black body behind the brush. But yeah, he was giving me the look-see, and I assume his name was Jericho. But it just I mean, like I said, just genetic variants here, but also, just like I said, they're, a bulbous nose and a big ears. He almost looks like one of your crazy uncles, at the family reunion. Receding hairline. His hair's not that. I mean, he doesn't have a domed head, and his hair, it looks parted. I'm telling you, his hair right there looks parted. So this guy here, seen before, he's I call him Black Nose because he does have a black patch on his nose, but still very human features. This is a big one. He was over 12 foot tall, and he was hiding in a cedar tree, and on my very first capturing encounter. And what makes him interesting is that a few years before this, in the same general area, there was a large Sasquatch that had a black nose, or it had a gray face and had a big black patch on its nose. I don't know if they're related, descendants, same one. Who knows? But again, you've still got some very human features here. This is the gray one that was watching me from behind me, and I worked really hard on this one. I did an MK Davis on this one, and would split the video out into frames, 30 frames a second, and go through each frame and check that frame out for clarity. And once I got a really good frame, and then I'd start working on it. I'd deblur it, and I'd work on the contrast and the brightness and the contrast, and then the sharpness, and clean it up and try to remove all the artifacts. And finally got a good frame where you can, without any manipulation, you can really see the right eye really good. And but this guy, now, he does have an elongated skull, but it's round. His skin is gray and his hair is gray, but a very human-like nose, hooded nose, a little bit on the brow. He has a large ear. Many of them you can't see their ears, but it seems these guys that I'm capturing, have the big ears. And then I did a sketch of this guy I started with this, and then just flipped it over and took some what they call artistic license to do this sketch. And of course, I had to guess on a lot. All I had was like the corner of the mouth, and but a reasonable facsimile of what he looks like. Again, very human. This is another frame from the Sasquatch that was in the laurel. This was at the end of the video where it was turning its head to the right. There was like a leaf, and I did use Photoshop to remove. There was a small leaf. It was almost a perfect shot, and and you can see that a little bit there where the leaf was. But other than that, that's the actual photograph just cut out. And due to the angle and everything, they look a little different, but they're the same one. The mouth's in a different formation. He's not chewing with the high cheek. But again, very human. A lot of people want to say that they get the gut feeling this is a female, and I kind of do too. But I never saw anything, never saw breast or anything. It's head. All you saw, as from the video, was just the head and the upper part of the shoulders. So this guy here, this is a sketch I did from the two that were peeking out from. At the peaking tree. This was done at night, and it was using infrared, and the camera I had, the infrared, everything looked gray, you know, so it was. So I don't know what color their skin was. I'm going to assume gray and black, but you can't ever tell. But this is the general facial features here. Again, I built this sketch off the original, and very human. This one is another sketch based on the Plot Watcher one. I had a camera on a mountainside and watching a trail, and this one I got a Plot Watcher was doing what a Plot Watcher does is it takes a picture every, you can set it every 10 seconds, every 5 seconds, every 1 second. I was taking pictures every 5 seconds. And the ideal was at the time, you know, they can sense our technology and the passive infrared sensor. Let's get this camera that it's just taking a picture. And maybe they can't sense that. Of course, I was wrong. I literally had this thing covered in bark. I had taken a tree and rolled the bark off of it, cut a hole, and you know, it wasn't a perfect hole. It cut a, you know, oblong, cut a hole in it, and so the camera would and the sensor would fit through, and you could just barely. But even with the camera, you know, 10 feet away, you could just barely see it. And this scudder, either he saw me put it up or he sensed the technology, and he basically snuck up to a tree about 30 yards away and leaned out, and got one, you know, pretty good picture of him. And based on that picture, about I got him from like here all the way up, and in about, you know, one eye, almost two eyes, and then the whole right side of his face and his right shoulder and a little bit of his right arm. Again, peeking with the one eye, but using you know, pretty much that right there, you know, created a sketch of possibly what it looked like. And again, very human. Maybe this one, maybe just a tad more of an apish look, but still got the hooded nose and high cheekbones, round, not a cone head or pointed head, but a round head. This is a sketch I did from, it's my own eyewitness sketch that I did based on the Sasquatch I called Scout, and it was, I think it's a female, and it was the one that followed me around. And there was an instance, and I've told it many times, but it was, you know, basically I was just going on a deer hunt. I felt something, I knew I was being watched, and I knew it was behind me, and when I turned around about 30-40 yards away, it rose up out of the tall grass to about, you know, I could probably see maybe just right under that, the bottom lip. And then when I went to speak to her, or him, I think this one's a her, that's just my feeling, I didn't see any genitals. It turned and shot off to the right. I saw the whole body, you know, in like a sprinter's pose. It was kind of hunched over and running. As it more like a leap. It just leapt and brought it like a high jumper. It brought its right leg up to leap over there was the dirt road. It leapt across that with one leap, and the next leap into the woods. But I got a really good look. We made eye contact. You hear a lot of eyewitnesses talk about how their eyes are big and black and there's hardly any sclera, but this one had some sclera, and eyes were more, you know, in the human range. The flat, wide nose, high cheekbones. I remember that. You could really see that. That's, you know, I'm not overemphasizing it. And it, you know, and it did have the crested, you know, the brow and the hair came right to there, and the wide mouth. It did have, you know, sometimes they just have skinny lips, but this, you know, this one had, you know, it had a decent bottom lip, and it was jet black, and the skin was black, but it, you know, I made the skin, you know, like a darker gray because it was shiny. The skin was shiny, and so And and it may have just been the way the sun was shining on the face, you know. But that's kind of how it looked to me. I'm not a great artist, but you know, it took me a while to get this thing about what it, you know, where I wanted it and what, you know, the actual representation of what I saw. But again, very human. This is the one that was sneering at me that zapped me somehow, and I walked off. And the main thing here I wanted to point out was, the sneer and the teeth. And you can see here, you know, these big chiclet square teeth. It is doing a menacing growl. But again, you know, the mouth, the teeth, human looking. There's another one. I know it's a real good one of the teeth there. You can see the individual teeth. The rest of it's blurry, I get it, but you can really see that mouth pretty good right there. Now this is a Sasquatch that was, I was very nervous. It was started raining. They were all around me and they were wanting me to leave, and there was noise on 3 sides and there was no noise on the way out. And when I mean noise, I mean stomping, grunting, stick breaking, and I was filming, and basically what I did, I didn't even see it. It's about 25, 30, maybe 40 yards behind me. I went like this. And this one is just standing there. I kind of caught it out in the open a little bit, and it just, you know, froze. Literally froze sideways. So I've got a side view of it, and that's a cutout. You know, it had a wound on the shoulder, and I've got all kinds of videos and showed that picture many times, and it's in my books. But it's literally the classic profile. It does have a domed head, but it's very, you know, flat nose, but, you know, high cheekbones again, very Native American look with the high cheekbones, and all black. It was standing beside a tree, so, you know, the picture's through foliage. But again, you've got extremely human looking features, in my opinion. And this is a sketch I did off of that. I just took this and then built this, you know, logical sketch. And I used this sketch on the cover of my book, the Sasquatch Genome Project, The Truth Denied. And basically all the basics are taken from the actual photograph, but very, very human looking. This is the white one that was down the hill. That's the actual blow-up photograph. This one, again, this one actually has no enhancement other than just brightness and contrast, a little deblurring and a little bit of sharpening, and that's it. And that's what we got. And so this one's white, but its beard is grayish. It looks like it's a dirty grayish color. And this was a situation where I got a cell phone call. This is back when I had the 480p camera, and I was in the Bakers Creek area. So I'm talking on the phone, and I'm holding the monopod in my right arm. I'm going straight down a point, down a hill, a road. There's a road down about halfway between the top of the point and the lake. And I've got the cell phone call, talking to somebody, and they want me to come home, and I'm I'm getting ready, I'm leaving now, I'm coming down the hill. Well, I'm not paying attention, and off to my right, about 75 yards away, is a white Sasquatch in this roadbed that I'm getting ready to turn and walk down. And it's there, and I posted this video, it's there for a couple seconds, and then as I'm moving down the hill, and I've got it's cocked to the right, so I'm not looking over there, and you see it, as I'm going, trees are coming between me and it, and then you can see it for, a couple, 3 seconds, and then go behind a tree, and I come out, and it's gone. So But when I went frame by frame, 30 frames a second, there was probably about maybe 3 seconds worth, 120 frames. I got this. This was the best frame, and I turned it into a sketch. And again, a little bit of artist license here, but or creative license, but extremely human looking. Extremely. Of course, the eyes were all black because of the distance, so you really couldn't see anything but the black. But there was quite a bit of detail given. It was a 480p, and so I just created this sketch, with the white hair and the full face beard that was obviously white and very human looking. A narrow mouth, not the normal look of these things. Normally their bottom, their mouth comes to the outside edge of their eyes. It's very wide and sometimes wider. Their nose is wide and comes, instead of going to the inside edge like a human, it goes out here to the center of the eye. Now this guy's got a narrow nose. He's got a narrow mouth. He does have, a protruding brow, and you can see that. And of course this thing was big. I'd say he's 10 to 12 foot based on where he was in the trail and the trees. I need to go back and do a full video on exactly how big he was, but haven't been able to get back there and do that. But you can see, he's got a beard, and it's hard to tell what color his skin is from that distance. It may be gray, could be, because you could really, if you look at the difference, you can see here obviously his head's white and his arms are white, shoulders, but you can see the cheeks and this beard are an off gray, or a dirty gray, dirty white. So then you can see the difference, how I actually used the actual photo and to base my sketch on. So now this is one of Sibylla Irwin's witness sketches, and I just wanted to throw a couple in here for other people in other areas. And again, this one's got a fatter lower lip, and very human-like features, not totally, but again human looking. This one's extremely human looking. Obviously he's got the angry look on his face. It looks like a Cherokee Indian to me. It looks Cherokee, very, very a Native American. If it wasn't for the covered in hair, but that high cheeks, but very, very human looking. And to kind of drive home the point, I wanted to read from my book, The Truth Denied, because the DNA evidence backs up the fact that the Sasquatch is a human hybrid, and the mitochondrial DNA is from a human female, and the nuclear DNA is unknown. And why it's not fully human, it definitely is a hybrid. It's the maternal side is human. And I wanted to read my summation from my book, based on the Sasquatch genome study, and then the actual study summation. So this is chapter 10, the very end of the chapter on summation. DNA from over 100 separate samples of hair, tissue, toenails, bark scrapings, saliva, and blood obtained from dozens of collection sites throughout North America have been extracted, analyzed, and sequenced. The hair samples were not consistent with human or any other known wildlife hairs. Analysis of the DNA found that the mitochondrial DNA was human, but the nuclear DNA was from an unknown source. All known ape and relic hominid species, such as Neanderthal, and the Denisovan, were eliminated, being contributors to both the nuclear and mitochondrial sequences. Whole genome analysis showed that the Sasquatch is an unknown human hybrid species, with some DNA sequences not matching humans or any known species. And that Denisovan, I said it right. My mom would be proud. And then from the actual Sasquatch Genome Project. The data clearly supports that these hominids exist as a novel species of primate. The data further suggests that they are human hybrids originating from human females. This hybridization can be linked to humans with Denisovian admixture resulting from Denisovian mating with human females. The same type of mating potentially occurred with the Sasquatch. Basically, she's saying that's not what it is, but they're comparing it. There was a study done where they found human females had mated with the subspecies of Denisovians, and they had found those. And so she's comparing that. You know, the hybridization can be likened to humans with the Denisovians. I didn't want people to think, well, you just said they weren't, and then she said they were. No, she said likened to. The same type of mating potentially occurred with Sasquatch. However, in the case of Sasquatch, the admixture is human. Through preliminary analysis, though preliminary analysis supports the hybridization hypothesis, alternatively, it could also be hypothesized that the Sasquatch are human in origin, having been isolated in close breeding populations for thousands of years. Nevertheless, the data conclusively proves that the Sasquatch exist as an extant hominid and are a direct maternal descendant of modern humans. It's a mouthful, but that's in my book, The Sasquatch Genome Study, Truth Denied. So I hope you enjoyed my little foray into the human side of the Sasquatch. I will have probably one more part here to this section on what did Sasquatch look like. Guys, just hope you enjoyed it. I hope you're benefiting from it. And until next time, God bless and take care, and we'll talk to you soon.